What is going on, everybody? I hope you're all doing well during these very crazy and chaotic times. But I hope you're regaining your confidence and you're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel because the tides they're finally turning. Um, but today I want to talk about the Lost Gospel of Thomas, and I want to build off of my last episode, which was the hidden teachings of Jesus. But I also wanted to make the point that this was actually the topic that led to my awakening 2 years ago. Prior to finding this information, I didn't question anything. I thought we were living in not a perfect world, but I thought the people in power, kind of cared about us and actually had our best intentions as a priority. After finding this information and going down rabbit hole, I eventually learned that that was not true. So with that being said, I want to give you some background information on the Lost Gospel of Thomas. It was discovered in 1945 in a Christian tomb along the Nile River in the town of Nag Hammadi in Egypt. And pretty much what happened was this local farmer was taking a walk down the Nile one day, and he stumbled across this hidden tomb. When he went inside, he came across some Christian artifacts, but more importantly, 13 leather-bound books. And one of those leather-bound books was the Lost Gospel of Thomas. Now, the interesting thing about the Lost Gospel of Thomas is that it's different than any other gospel that was written. When you read something like the Gospel of Mark or the Gospel of Paul, it's their, personal interpretation of their experience with Jesus. The Lost Gospel of Thomas is actually the quotes of Jesus, his actual words. It wasn't, Thomas's interpretation. It was literally just word for word what Jesus was saying. The book itself is composed of 114 verses. Each verse is just a small excerpt of, a specific teaching. They kind of go hand in hand with one another. They build off of each other as you go along. I highly suggest reading it. Very, very interesting. They have determined that the origins of this text are Gnostic. If you're not familiar with the Gnostics or Gnosticism, it's very closely related to Christianity. If not, it's the same. The reason some of you may not know about the Gnostics is because after the Romans crucified Jesus, the Gnostics were the next target. The Gnostics were mass murdered right after Jesus. They were crucified, they were stoned to death, they were burned, and after the Romans successfully, mass murdered all of them, the Romans burned the books, burned all the Gnostic teachings. They were pretty much wiped off the face of the earth, which is why we don't hear about them today or really learn about them. And that should show you just how important they are. Their message was so strong and so meaningful that, obviously it was wiped off the face of the earth. But the reason for that was because they were the foundation of Christ's message. They were the ones that were spreading it. Obviously you had the 12 disciples, but 12 people can only do so much. The Gnostics were the ones who were really going out and spreading the message of Christ. There are hundreds of these men, that you just don't know about. But they were the ones that, they had the true teachings, and they were spreading those teachings, and that is why they were murdered. So I wanted to read here 3 verses. 3 out of the 114, which is why I recommend going and reading all of them for yourself. But the first one I have here is, if two make peace with each other in this one house, they will say to the mountain, move away, and it will move away. I'm going to read that again. If two make peace with each other in this one house, they will say to the mountain, move away, and it will move away. Now, this was not a metaphor. These were the literal words from Jesus. And what he is saying here is, when he's referring to the one house, he's referring to your body, your human vessel. The one house is who you are. When he says, if two make peace with each other in this one house, the two he was referring to is your heart and your mind. So if your heart and your mind make peace with each other in the body, they will say to the mountain, move away, and it will move away. So what Jesus was saying here was, if you want to make a mountain move, or do whatever, make a blind person see, turn water into wine, you need to be at peace with yourself, in your mind and in your heart. But to go off of that, to build off of that, the other verse I wanted to read was, when you make the two one, you will become sons of man. And when you say mountain move, it'll move away. So again, the teaching here is, we have the capability to manipulate reality just like Jesus. If you watch my previous video, you heard me talk about, again, Jesus was making the blind see, making the deaf hear, turning water into wine. He was instantaneously manipulating the reality. He was changing it in front of hundreds of people's eyes on the drop of a dime. And that's what he's teaching here, is we have those same capabilities as him. Obviously Jesus was a special soul, but what's being hidden from us is we are capable of doing what he is doing too. We are capable of manipulating reality just like he did. And that's what they don't want us to know. And that's why this isn't included in the Bible. That's why these type of teachings were burned. I mean, could you imagine if 7 billion, 8 billion people knew this message, and were every day, all of us were actually practicing the actual teachings of Jesus? I mean, we would be living in a completely different world. There wouldn't be world hunger. There wouldn't be hate. There wouldn't be anger. There wouldn't be any tragedies. We would all be working together. And that leads me to my next verse, the last verse I'm going to read in this video. And what Jesus said here was, create the feeling in your heart as if the prayer has already been answered. I'm going to read this one more time. Create the feeling in your heart as if the prayer has already been answered. So what Jesus is saying here is, when you pray as if it has already happened. Don't ask God for it to happen. Thank God for it for happening. The message behind that is, when you're praying from a state of lack, first of all, being in a state of lack is a low vibration. If you're praying from a state of lack, you're letting it known to yourself, to God and the universe, that you are lacking it, that you do not have it. What Jesus is saying here is, create the feeling in your heart as if the prayer has already been answered. Pray as if it has happened already. So be thankful. Pray from a state of gratitude. Gratitude is a much higher vibration than being in a state of lack. So if you're praying at a higher vibration, you're believing in your mind and in your heart that it's already happened, it's going to come to you much quicker, because you're letting it be known to yourself, to God and the universe, that has already happened. That's, again, flip of a switch, drop of a dime. It's already happened. You're manipulating that reality. You're already being thankful for it because it already happened. That's how powerful these teachings are. Again, Jesus was teaching us to manipulate reality, to making things happen instantaneously. And that's what was being hidden from us. These are very, very, very powerful teachings. And it's a shame that they're being hidden from us. But that's the reason why these people were murdered right after Jesus, and while their teachings were burned. I mean, you're seeing in today's world, the modern censorship of, accounts getting deleted, posts getting deleted. The censorship we're seeing now was also happening back then too. The Gnostics were being murdered, and their teachings were being burned. It's the same power structure at play. We have these evil people ruling the world now. The same thing was going on thousands of years ago. I mean, it's obviously a terrible thing that we have these type of truths and teachings hidden from us, but the time is now to really understand why it's happened. But it's time we take our power back, because there's a reason you're following my channel. There's a reason you follow me on YouTube. There's a reason you follow me on Instagram. And that reason is because you know you're being lied to. You know you don't have the full truth, that I don't have the full truth, that none of us has the full truth. You're looking for answers just like I'm looking for answers. I mean, this is important things to do, but we can't stop. We can't stop asking questions. We need to keep asking questions and keep diving deeper and deeper and deeper. So we need to ask ourselves, why is this not in history books? Why is this discovery not talked about? Why is this teaching not in the Bible? Why are the literal words from Jesus Christ not in the Bible? Why were they burned? These are important questions that we need to ask. So I'm going to leave this video at that. Again, I don't want to make these too long. I want to try to make them quick. I know it's 2021 and we don't want to be sitting here for 30-40 minutes listening to me talk. So I'm going to link a video in the description. And that video it's going to be Greg Braden, and he is going to be talking about this in much more depth and explain it much better than I do. Greg Braden is by far one of my all-time favorite minds. I mean, this dude is next level. He is one of the smartest men that I've ever come across. So I highly, highly, highly recommend you watch that video, and I highly, highly recommend you going and reading the full Gospel of Thomas, all 114 sayings. And if you want to keep going from there, read the other 12 books that were found in the Nag Hammadi library. And if you go on, again, I recommend using DuckDuckGo and not Safari, but just punch in the Nag Hammadi library and you'll see all the other texts that were found. And again, they're all very, very closely linked to Christianity. So again, if you're a Christian, you're going to understand this stuff, and you're going to find out more information. It's going to make sense to you. It's the stuff that they're hiding from Christians. So I really hope you guys like this video, and I really hope you join me next week. Have a good day, guys.